All right, Meredith, we're live, and you're all set up to go this time. Have you not been sleeping? You're just gonna stare at me. She's just staring at me. Anyway, thank you everyone for coming and spending another Monday night with us. And this one's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm excited about it as always, but especially drawing this jam piece, and you can see some of it here. I'll move it around a little bit so you can see more, but there are some absolutely incredible artists on it. You can see Jim Lee here. You can see Alex Ross, and I need to do something about this tape because you can see this was done probably 20 years ago, maybe a little bit more. I think more than 20. And the tape is actually kind of soaked into the paper, so it's kind of created some problems. And I'll be able to fix a lot of that just by drawing over it. But some of it, I don't know how I'm really going to correct that. But there's no way Alex Ross could have known that when he put this down. It was never intended to be sitting there for 20 plus years. But you can see it's got Todd McFarlane.
Why don't you take the tape off,
Spider-Man,
Dave?
Because
why don't you just cut that piece of tape off?
Here, let's see. I can't take the whole piece of paper off. The reason
you can take the tape off.
Okay. Here's a piece of tape. Here it goes. There's one.
This
Here comes another one.
We can complain about problems, or we can solve our problems.
Anyway, all right. So yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun, and I saw a bunch of you guys saying hi. I took a look at the chat just before this whole thing started. So hi, Jeff Wheeler and Art Jedi. Kevin Mandevil's here, and I'm gonna end up forgetting. So I don't want to keep going into names, but thank you everyone so much. For those of you that are new, thank you for coming and watching. And before I start with this one, let me set my pencil down. So Meredith, I have a lot of characters on here. A lot I can tell. Like this, here, let's move the camera over here. This right here is clearly the Human Torch. And down here is definitely the Vision. But this character here, no idea. I really can't tell. You guys can see it there, right? And I'm actually thinking maybe of putting Robin in there. I want to put a few Batman characters in here. I actually talked to the owner of this piece, and he was...
Is it the Goblin?
No, it looks like a female character. I just cannot tell. Here. He was pretty open to some interpretation. He also had some characters he wanted to recommend. He wanted Magneto in here and some of the Batman characters. So I'm going to do that. Oh, I've got Martian Manhunter. That is definitely the or Captain Marvel. So yeah. So if any of you guys are, while you're watching Rogue, Angel Rodriguez says that it's Rogue. William Lopez says Joker. I definitely want to fit Joker on here. It doesn't look like Joker, but it could be. So you know what? Let's do that. I'm going to write down. We'll make that Joker. You know what? I don't want Joker kind of running toward us, though. I want to put him kind of more up. I want him bigger. Joker. That can be Joker. This is Cyclops. For sure. All right. Henry Jamrick says Harley Quinn. Nighthawk Warrior Comics has a question mark. You can't tell. So, yeah, I think for this one, my plan for tonight... Let me move this whole thing up. It's enormous. You really have no idea how big this thing is. I think I'm going to draw the Vision down here just to kind of finish this little section. And the other one I was thinking about doing is this, to me, that looks like Colossus. So I think I'm going to go with Colossus for that one. And that'll be tonight. So let's get started.
David, we have a super chat from Jeffrey Niffen for $4.99. Jeffrey wants to know, have you ever considered drawing on toned gray or tan paper for one of the live streams? And P.S., finally got a new job. Congratulations, Jeffrey.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, congratulations. That's good news. Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I never do it. I have never really done it. And with tan paper or toned paper, you can... draw the thing. I would draw it the way that I normally would, and then I could go in with a little white colored pencil and some highlights, and I think it'd be really kind of interesting to do. So yes, actually, I think that would be a lot of fun. But for now, let's start with the Vision. And we're in the camera here. Let me move this down just a little bit. It's definitely a day I need to move the camera rather than the paper.
Next super chat comes from SCS Powerlifting for
SCS is here.
$5. SCS says, "What's up, flock? Time for some raw and draw." Didn't you watch a fight last night, Dave?
I did. Actually, I watched it 2 nights ago now. Yeah, you know, I don't want to ruin it in case anybody hasn't seen it, but my favorite fighter of all time, I think, it's all over. Unfortunately, I mean, there's a point where he is the toughest fighter in the UFC easily, and there's a point where I think it's actually going to hurt him. You know, he won't tap, and he doesn't have the ability to protect himself the way that he needs to. I think to continue, and it breaks my heart, but it's very sad to watch. So yeah, it was a tough one. Pretty much most of the fights kind of didn't go my way. I like strikers more than I like wrestlers, and it was more of a wrestler. Although the wrestler that I don't like because he's a wrestler won with a knockout, and it was impressive. It was very good. So, you know, kind of made me a fan. But Meredith, you were dead quiet. What is the deal? You gonna be able to make it tonight?
We'll see. I'm here.
You're here.
Mike Yanez says, "Same here, Dave. I was definitely sad about it."
Yeah, it's a tough situation, you know, and ultimately, I'm gonna get this. I think more like that. I'm gonna have to erase out a little bit with whiteout. UFC is a young, I want to say man, but young person, because there are certainly women too. Women's is more new for the UFC, so not as much age out so far, but yeah, you know, it's tough to see a fighter that, you know, you've been watching for years, and you know, he's an absolute favorite, fade, and especially fade in such a way that he really, you know, he was working on his striking and working on his head movement. Well, he was working on his head movement, and I could see him trying to move his head, and he was being successful with that, but he was concentrating on it so much that I feel like he just wasn't really effective with striking. Sad to see.
All right. Next super chat comes from Dr. Rockhart.
Hey, Dr. Rock.
$5.49.
That's an interesting super chat from Dr. Rock. Hopefully he's feeling better.
Dr. Rock says, "Hey, DNM.
I lost my, oh no. You know what, I'm gonna have to just break out a new one. I thought this was the one I was using. Okay, sorry.
Is this the one that you threw on the floor?"
No, I was looking for whiteout, and my whiteout is upstairs.
All right. "Hey, DNM. Great to see you working on this epic piece again. My 1-year-old just woke me up. Guess he wanted me to stop by at your place."
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what he was thinking. 1-year-old. Oh, I miss it and I don't.
Not at all.
Yeah. I want to make sure. Let me see if I can shift the camera just a little bit more. I find if the camera's here and my hand's over here, all you see is my hand when I draw, which is not really so much fun.
Michael Johnson Curry has a super chat for $4.99. Michael says, "The next sample pages I'm doing is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Any tips or things I could focus on to make the pages stand out?"
Well, I gotta say, Michael, I love the style that you were doing for the last samples that I saw. I'd love to see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles drawn in that style. I think it'd be very effective too. They're actually a great choice for it. And for me, with the Ninja Turtles, I like their sewer kind of layer, and I think that works so well with the great black spotting and, you know, just layering of lights and darks that you're doing with your backgrounds. I think it'd be very, very effective. I'd love to see that. And actually, for samples, I think it might be nice to show the turtles on the surface, you know, they're on a city street, jump out of a car, and you know, run through the sewer a little bit and end up in their place. I don't even know that you need to show a villain, because if you have them, you know, jumping out of the car, running through the sewer, through the water splashing up, they end up in their spot, jump on the chair, eat some pizza, whatever. That's action. You can see a lot of action with that. I think that'd be a blast to do too.
All right. Paolo Kagapam is sending all his energy to me.
Well, thank you so much. And she needs it.
And Jeff Wheeler says, Maris sounds sad today. I'm not sad. I just have nothing left. And I have so much to do.
So what happened today that made you so tired
just
today?
like,
Or is it just every day put together?
Well, I had to run over today and drop off that trailer hitch.
Yeah.
And then I had to drop off something else. And then I had to hit 3 different stores to try to find what I was looking for. And I mean, we're in the middle of a lockdown pandemic. So all the shelves are empty and I can't find something that I really need.
Right.
And then I had like 2 hours at the other barn, and then I came back here, and the house is just a disaster, and it's depressing. And I have FedEx that I have to do tomorrow that I was supposed to do today. And you have signing stuff that needs to get signed that needs to go to FedEx.
Yeah, I spent this entire weekend.
It's just
I barely slept. It was a long weekend. I had stuff to.
And I will never write again because I don't have the time.
Oh, you will. But, and you know what? Once you're a horse stall, once all that stuff is set up, it'll be easier, hopefully. And it's so worth it, because otherwise, how could we have horses? I was going to say something. I forgot.
Well, let me read this super chat from Rich Pinniger. I'm going to say Pinniger because it looks like it rhymes with vinegar. For $1, but Rich didn't make a comment. But thank you for the super chat, Rich.
Yes, thank you very much, Rich. Very much appreciated.
Random Pat has a super chat for $5. Random Pat has a random question. Random Pat wants to know how you went about designing the Ronin costume for Marvel, and are you a fan of samurai and Japanese culture?
Okay, well, I did not design the Ronin costume. I actually designed, and you can see it, there's an alternate cover for issue 1, and there's a character kind of with no face. He looks much more high tech. They told me pretty specifically exactly what they were looking for, and I didn't follow it really very well at all. And so Joe Quesada actually took over and designed that character. He knew what he wanted, and so he just said, you know what, we're not gonna go with that design. Here's what I want. And so he designed it himself. So I actually didn't design Ronin. That said, I'm absolutely a huge fan of Japanese culture, of course. I mean, I don't really know a lot of history about anything. I'm not exactly a scholar, but you know, samurai swords are pretty cool, and the armor and ninjas with the smoke bombs. There's my knowledge of culture. It's very sad.
Oh, pardon me. Aisha Wint has a super chat for $10. Aisha wants to know, how do you overcome commission flow block? The implied expectation gives me such anxiety that I shut down. But when I'm in the flow, my work is better quality than my commissions.
Yeah, you know what? There's a line here that I think I'm gonna. Dang it! Does everybody? Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. Commission flow block. Well, you know what? And it happens to me too. The tough thing about commissions is, now it depends on where you are. If you're drawing just for yourself, it's much easier because you're not drawing to an expectation. Whereas when you're drawing a commission, that picture needs to look good and it needs to work. And that's something that can affect you for commissions. It can also affect you for covers, any kind of professional work where it needs to look good. And it's very draining. It really is. And you can find that your work can be stiffer if you don't do it all the time, and you're not as used to it. It can definitely be a little stiffer. I don't have a solution to that beyond, well, two things, because I find I get burned out with commissions at times, for sure. And I can tell you, doing the Monday Night Draw live stream, this stream with all of you guys, excuse me, has actually had me drawing a lot more of this kind of stuff than I ever normally would. I never have the energy for it. I'm going to move up. So I'm not just going to finish one. I think I'm going to do the kind of cartoon for this one, and then we'll move on. Then I'll do it like anyway. But the fact that I have to do this and everybody's watching, you guys are watching, which I really appreciate, means that I can't just say, not today. So I really believe so much of it is just a matter of, you just have to sit down and do it. And it's a discipline thing. Especially if you don't have, like, if you can blow it off, you will. I know I certainly will. So you just can't give yourself permission to blow it off, and that's easier said than done, but that is really what it comes down to. It really is. It's always tough.
Cool. Dr. Rockart has a super chat for $5.49. Leggy 100 wanted to get tips on how to draw capes. I think that's a good question. Sure, you have some great advice up your sleeve.
Yeah, you know what? And actually, as it turns out, I can't move this thing. It's too big. I need to grab another piece of paper. I'll be right back. Okay. Grab my blanket. No comments. All right.
I filled the time.
Okay, so capes. I've got a couple of things that I want to say. And so I'm going to draw, here's my basic shoulders. My neck is here, so my head's going to be here. We don't need too much of that. And we'll say the shoulders, or the cape's going to connect here and here. And I did a video where I did some folds, and I just threw in as a quick bonus, but just to show you guys again, I just do this kind of a construction. So it's a shape like this, and then it connects down, and I just come under like this, and I can do that a little bit too if I want, but I just repeat that shape. And even though it's the same shape, you want to change up your sizing a little bit, but it really has a lot of dimensions. So that's the best way that I've found, certainly, to wrap a cape over shoulders, just connecting these shapes over and over. And for the bottom of a cape, now, if your cape is shaped like this, from the back, here would be your feet. It's got small feet. Then when it drapes, you would get this kind of a shaping here, just like this. And it's a very easy thing to do. You just draw a squiggle and then just connect, come up, and it's a very easy way to get something that looks like drapery from behind. And then in the center of the cape, from the back, I'm going to draw the top of it. What you really want to think in terms of is just, it's like a connecting line. So I've got a line, a line, a line, line. And you can see it already kind of looks like the connecting folds of a cape. And it's actually, look at this, I'm blowing it already. I don't really, and this is my problem of, when I do tutorials, I draw it a couple of times first to make sure that what I'm explaining is actually going to work for me. Because I know the theory behind it, how I work, but when I'm actually drawing, I tend to, and I'm going to show you the way that I actually do it. Maybe I should just do that. Since this isn't a tutorial and I haven't had time to really think it through, I'm going to show you how I would actually approach it. I draw a shadow, and then another shadow, and another one. And that's how I actually really think about this stuff, just in terms of shadows connecting together. And it really is this kind of a pattern. But I find working off simple lines like that and trying to make it make sense. For some things it works and some things it doesn't. And I have you fall into patterns. That's my pattern. That's how I always end up doing it. So yeah, I think to really teach this, I need to think about it a little bit more. But there you go. That's I wish I could draw like a whole cape and really go into it. And at some point I will, because I think it's actually something that would be really interesting, fun to do, and I think people would enjoy it. But
All right. Next super chat comes from Daniel Castelli for $4.99. Daniel says, "Hey D&M, when you're attaching the arm to the torso in your gesture drawing, is the circle you draw the deltoid, or does it represent the socket?"
let me grab my paper again. All right. So I'm going to draw, this is, my standard figure that it's basically a 3/4. And here's my circle. And so the Andrew Loomis, and it from the front, here would be the basic shape. And he actually cuts in quite a bit, and then he creates like shoulders. And so from the side, or well, from a 3/4, you'd see it as a rounded shape, basically like this. And then the arm connects here inside it at a joint. And so here would be your arm connecting through. And from the front, it would be like this. And so that's kind of what I'm drawing. I'm drawing this, but I don't really cut it in quite as much as Loomis. But I do cut it in. And that's actually a little bit more recent for me. I found it was more effective. And that's just from studying Loomis. It's several years ago now that I kind of made that transition. But that's really what it is. And then when you're drawing your anatomy, you've got your chest here and your shoulder kind of connects in like this. So it's a really useful shape for connecting your shoulders into your musculature of your body. So there you go. That's how I always do it. Obviously, it's a little confusing having that extra detail in there, but there you go.
Quasim Latif wants to know if he should stop drawing because my mom says it's girly.
Girly? Well,
most of the most famous artists in comics are men. I mean, that's changing.
That's changing. It really is. Now,
but it's like saying being a chef is girly, cooking is girly, and some of the most famous chefs are men, and some of the best chefs are men. Like, I don't know. Here's a job that has a gender: mom.
Okay, sure.
Dad. Those are jobs that have a gender. Otherwise, do what you want, do what you feel passionate about, and do what you love.
And also, we've had a real problem in comics that it's a very male hobby. It has been for years, and that's really been changing, and that's great. And we have more women writing, drawing, coloring in every aspect of comics. There are more women, and that's great. But yeah, it's certainly. I think it's for everyone. I don't think there's, my opinion, most male artists tend to be better at drawing women or drawing men, and most female artists tend to be better at drawing women. I think you draw what you know. And obviously this is like, it's no universal at all, but it seems like most, So yeah, your art kind of takes on your personality a little bit.
All right. Next super chat comes from Kevin Mandeville for $9.99. Kevin says, "Happy Monday, Finches. Meredith, hope you feel better. If I got 20 pine trees planted, Kevin, I would feel better. David is the character behind Wolverine Static. I'm just going off the hair and jacket outline, but could be wrong."
Behind Wolverine Static.
Is that Static, the character Static?
Right here.
Behind Wolverine.
It could be. There's another character on here that I was thinking was, I'll never find it now. It really does look like a female character to me. Maybe it's, it certainly could be though, but the hair looks, I don't think so. I'm going to have to find another place for Static.
All right. Tari always says I missed his super chat, but it got retracted. I did miss it because my screen flipped, but then I would have caught it when I went back for it. It says retracted. So Tari, your super chat for $4.99. Just let me know what your question was.
And thank you so much for your super chat. And yeah, we'll certainly get to it.
Rich Pinniger has this $5 super chat. Meant to send a $5 chat. How do you go about the connection between an arm and the torso along with an arm with the fist toward the front?
Arm with the torso and
the connection between an arm and the torso. The connection.
Well, we just did the connection between the arm and the torso.
Along with an arm with the fist toward the front.
But we will do that.
And while you're doing that, Daniel Castelli has a super chat for $1.99. Daniel, just want to say thanks to Eric Grove.
Well, on Eric's behalf, thank you, Daniel.
Are you drawing the arm?
Oh, right. Yep. And I keep throwing the paper over here. I need to just stop doing that. Okay. So, drawing the hand coming out of the arm, it really comes down to drawing your wrist properly. And so I'm going to draw a rectangular shape for my wrist, and then the upper part of my arm is an opposite rectangular shape that it kind of connects into. And then the hand connects here. And the hand from the side has you could almost say it has a bit of a wedge and then a shape like this. And that would be the back of the hand. And your thumb comes out this kind of a shape. And then the wrist connects up here. So the wrist doesn't actually connect into the flat of the hand. It connects toward the top and it has a bit of a shape to it. And so that would be my hand here. Just like this. I kind of got a little confused with my shapes there. But that's the general construction. You've got a bone here. And so let me lighten this down. And here's my upper forearm, my thumb. The thumb has tendons that connect up into the arm. And then there's a bone here. That would be this one right here on the back of your arm. Look at this. I've got from scratching my arm. We have horses now. I'm allergic. And then the hand actually connects here. So that would be, and it's actually two tendons. You can see slightly anyway on me right now. A tendon here, and then there's another one here, and they connect up into the arm to your thumb extensors along the back here. And so I'm going to kind of indicate them in there. And the wrist is 5 million little muscles or 5 million little bones in here. There's my 5 million little bones. Nobody understands that stuff. I sure don't. And so for me, I know that my connection is here. I've got my tendons running up along the back of the arm here. And I just worry about my major landmarks. I've got my extensors coming in here. And I will never, there are areas of my anatomy, and actually that's something, my next tutorial video is going to be on backs and some basic construction for backs. But this area here is this whole area, just in terms of actual structure, there's so much going on under here that you really don't see, and it doesn't affect the overall shape. It's something, you know what, I need to probably work on that too. I could light this right now and make it look pretty good, but in terms of actually drawing fully realized shapes in here, I actually couldn't do it, truthfully. So much of my shaping is I'll draw, here's a shadow and I'll connect it with another shadow, and here's my bone sticking out here, and these are going to connect. And a few shapes like this can really indicate a lot of detail. That's how I do some of the smaller muscles on the body. That's truthfully how I end up approaching them. From the inside, you have your same rectangular shape, and your hand connects to that, and when you twist your arm, you'll see these two bones actually turn over each other. And so that affects the muscles along here, and they follow that bone turning. That's a bit of another thing, but it's a little bit too much to just go into here. And I actually did an arm construction video where I kind of went into that. So hopefully that'll help too. And I'm not going to put that on the floor this time. All right.
All right, next super chat comes from Kaimani Jacobs for $9.99. But Kaimani, I don't see a comment or a question. So tag me and ask it.
And thank you,
Kaimani,
for the super chat.
And thank you for the super chat. Carlos Nunez has a super chat for $5. Making an art training regiment. Once more, what book should we draw end to end for anatomy? Thanks for all the help you give us. Love the Walking Dead covers, by the way.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. They've been a blast to draw. It's Bridgman's Guide to Life Drawing. It comes with, I think the name varies a little bit. Guide to Drawing from Life, whatever. But if you type in George Bridgman's life drawing, you'll find it. It's available on Amazon. It's pretty easy to find. I was actually very fortunate. I talked to Kyle Hotz, who recommended it, and it turned out that they had it actually at the local library, So I was able to get it. I couldn't have afforded to buy the book, especially very early on. My mother was very, very supportive. She took a little bit to really buy into the fact that I would actually take it seriously, though. I had a bit of a reputation for starting and stopping things. So yeah, I was very fortunate that I was able to get a hold of that book early on. It made a big difference, and I think made me stick with it.
Next super chat comes from Random Pat for $10. Random Pat says, I'm a 19-year-old aspiring artist and just changed my major. Wondering if you could offer some advice for overcoming self-doubt and persevering, especially when trying to pursue a career in the field.
Oh man. Well, thank you for the super chat. I want to say, okay, I had very, very bad self-doubt before I broke in. And I told myself, if I can get in somewhere, anywhere, it's like an acknowledgement that you're doing work that is viable, and that's a big deal to get that. And I thought, okay, I'll be good. That will eliminate that question from my mind. And that was not the case. I remember really going through some difficult times at Top Cow where I started, it was a great place. It was very supportive, but there are also incredible artists there that could just do things that I couldn't do. And I was struggling to learn. It didn't really come as easily for me as it did for some people. Mike Turner, he would just pick things up like instantly. I mean, and watching that happen was just, it was very humbling, And I remember telling Joe Benitez, who's another artist, he's an incredible artist. He's been around for years and years. He has a book called Lady Mechanica that he's working on right now. He and I were very close, and I told him that if I couldn't figure it out and get more comfortable, I was going to quit. Like within 6 months, I gave myself, I came close. I don't know how close really, because I had nothing else. But I really wanted to quit. And here I was in a place that is so hard to get into, and such a great learning environment. And yeah, I was on the way out the door. And I think, I wouldn't ever have quit, except that so many people did. It was very common. More people quit by far than actually made it and made a career out of it. We had people that would come in and nobody got fired. Amazingly, people would come in. We started as interns. So basically I drew pinups and just kind of learned for a little while. And it was a 3-month internship, and they said, okay, if it works out, then great. If it doesn't, then, it is what it is. So I really thought I was going to have at the end of 3 months, like an assessment, this is how it went. You didn't quite make the cut. I'm sorry, and I learned eventually that they actually didn't work that way. It's not how it went at all. The people that didn't make the cut were just the people that quit. It's amazing. It's the people that quit. And I keep saying, you know, if you're good at math, and it's something that you enjoy, and if you're good at art and it's something you enjoy. So talent is a thing, and you have to have some talent. Well, if you are drawing, you enjoy it, and you feel like you do it well, you have talent. The rest of it really is perseverance, and it is sticking it out when it gets difficult to draw, and it will. There are times you just don't want to do it, and that can stop you for a week. It can stop you permanently. And my advice would be to not let that happen. It's totally attainable. It's a matter of not stopping. And I watched clearly more talented artists than me just not make it. And I feel so blessed that people consider me to be talented. A lot of people now. And so much of that really is just, I just learned how to do this stuff, and I just never stopped. I just kept going, and I can't draw certain things well, and I would work at it until I could. And there are weaknesses that I have now that kind of haunt me because I haven't worked on them. And I've got a few in mind that I really kind of want to focus on over the next few months.
I'm cutting you off.
I'm just going to keep talking all night.
Jansen Art has a super chat for $1.99. Any tips on drawing lots of characters together?
Yeah. Okay.
And I got a lot of super chats, so.
Okay, I'm going to make this one fast.
Let's not wax on.
Okay, I'm going to make this
ad
one
nauseum.
Fast. Now you're taking up the time. Let's just argue for a bit. Okay, so to draw a lot of characters together, I'm going to assume you're talking about like a superhero team. So what you want to do is you go, okay, I've got a character that flies, so I'm going to put him. Here's my image, way over here. I'm going to put the character that flies up here. It just makes sense. And I've got a character kind of like Wolverine that is more of a crouching kind of a character. Maybe I'll put him here. And I've got a big like Cable. Maybe as a character really planted, stands tall. I'm going to put him here. And so let's just say it's 3 characters just for the sake of not having Meredith freak out. So here's his gun. And, I want him to be kind of up here. I want Wolverine to be closer. I'm going to put him here. And then I'm going to have my guy flying. I'm going to kind of put him up here. But look at this. His arms are cut off, and I really don't like that. And so I drew this so cheaply and poorly that I can just do another one really quickly. And I've got my Wolverine here, maybe. I'll give this a try. And then my other character here, and then I'll put my flying character up here. And I did the same thing there. Now I'll put his hands in. And I still don't like that because this one at least had a bit of a shape to it. This one doesn't. But I just play with these little things until I get something that I like. And I bear in mind that if I'm going to place a character, I don't want to cut them off awkwardly. And so I just need to rework it. I could maybe move them down. I could move them back. I can do different things. And it really is a matter of just playing with really simple shapes. So you're not drawing figures, because that's a really good way to drive yourself crazy. You draw a really nice tight figure, and they don't all fit. So yeah, it's a matter of just doing those little sketches and also just getting good at gesture drawing. All right. Okay, go.
Cool. Kamani Jacobs super chatted again, because you remember Kamani super chatted and then didn't have a question. So he did another super chat for $4.99, and then I found his question finally. Kamani Jacobs says, Meredith Finch, my question was pretty much, as an aspiring comic book artist, should you focus on making art that looks realistic or art that fits the style of a comic book?
Okay. Both.
And thank you for the super chat.
Yes, and thank you. Well, for both of them. Making your art look realistic. I think that there's a line. Now, this is a personal preference, and this is the problem of answering a question like this, is there are absolutely incredible realistic artists. Alex Ross, who is on this piece just up here, is a really good example. And I mean, this stuff is beautiful. And for me to say, oh no, that's not the way to go, ridiculous, obviously. But I'm just going to say, my personal approach, what I really like is I like cartooning. I don't want it to look real, but I also want it to look convincing. So I find that drawing from life is very, very useful in helping your art look convincing. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Feeling like I'm a little kind of drawn a little small. So yeah, sorry, here, let me. Okay. So yeah, it's a matter of you want it to look as convincing as you can. At the same time, you don't want it to just look like it's photo referenced. And the key to that is studying from life, but then not copying from life when you're drawing your actual work, or at least not slavishly copying from it. You can certainly inform your work with it. And in terms of style, um, the hard truth is that there are styles out there that publishers are looking for, and it is definitely very beneficial for you to be looking at what they're actually publishing, the artists that are very successful there, and copy what they do. And you don't have to copy just one; you can copy a few. So Greg Capullo is phenomenal at uh, so many things. You can copy so much of it, but then let's say you want something just a bit of a different feel on top of that. Maybe Gary Frank or Kevin Nolan is a huge one for me. Or there's so many choices. So you pick a few different popular artists that you really like and try them all. And also bear in mind that that is your goal. You want to be drawing in a style that um, is that publishers are looking to publish, assuming you're looking to be published.
Awesome. Thank you. One Mighty R has a super chat for $5. Mighty wants to know how many artists have drawn on this piece.
First of all, nice to see you here, Mighty, and thank you. It's quite a few. Travis Trest. So it's got a bunch of George Perez, Travis Trest, Alex Ross, Jim Lee, Eric Larson, J. Scott Campbell, and a few others actually that I hate to say that I can't recognize, but I can't. And unfortunately, this piece kind of got lost in time, and the current owner, there's information that came with it that he doesn't have either. So there's a little bit of lineage that we just don't know. So there are a couple of figures here. Let me show you one here. So this figure here, it's pencil. It's very light, and I don't know who did it. So yeah, it's tough to say for a few of them.
All right. Next super chat comes from Dr. Rock Art for $2.29. Dr. Rock wants to know, do you know who laid out the whole piece?
I have no idea. Not at all. Yeah, that would be kind of nice to know. I really don't know, and I don't think the owner of the piece actually knows either. It's so long ago. It's actually so long ago that the pencils are incredibly difficult to erase. That eventually just kind of, I don't know what it is with pencil. Over the years, it gets harder to just get off the page.
All right. Super chat from Daniel Castelli for $4.99. Daniel says, "Oh, I just wanted to mention I tried the painting technique you showed with watercolor and white gouache for lights, and it worked well. Thank you."
Oh, great! Watercolor and gouache, that would totally work. I find I have a really difficult time. I've done a few paintings with gouache. Watercolor, I cannot use. The only way I've tried it actually, and I did a Superman cover that was largely watercolor, but the way that I have to use it is I use it as a way to get a nice smooth underlayer and get a lot of cool blending, that kind of thing. And then I'd use a workable fixative, freeze it in place, and then I work with acrylic, which is heavier and I can add white to it and make it opaque on top of it. So it's a bit of a, I don't really use it properly. I'm not capable.
Next super chat comes from Strife for $9.99. Strife says, "Hi, DNM. Can you help me with the 3/4 angle on Batman's boot swinging at the viewer? I am good until I get to the calf, then I break his leg around the boot. Help save the Dark Knight's leg, please." Do you understand the question?
Okay, the Batman's boot,
A 3/4 angle swinging at the viewer.
kind of need to see reference for that. I mean, I could kind of make something up. Okay.
Something like what you did with that Batman and Robin cover, when he's like swinging forward and you see like a 3/4 shot of the boot, like
Okay.
a 3/4 angle.
So I've got my leg coming out here. My knee is up here. And I really like to draw my my ankle coming out this way. So from the top, it comes over the top of the foot, and then my ankle actually draw as part of that shape, and that way I can draw the foot kind of in there. And I just like how that works. I don't know what it is. And so from the top, you'd see the foot more like this, and with a boot you're going to have more of this kind of a shape. And so from here I'm going to draw a shape for my treads. There's one side. And then here's my treads down here. And there you go. That's kind of a 3/4. And then just to get the divisions in the treads, I can just do this. But drawing them all as one block, like basically you can have something like this. And, it's a dimensional shape in space. So you would end up with something like that. And then drawing your treads on top of that as a single shape is so much easier than trying to draw each individual little piece as you go around, and you can erase out from there. But that's how I would do it. Another thing that I would really recommend, and something that I recommend, is get a Batman toy, a really good one with good boots. And you can just turn that thing at that angle and you can see some really good reference for those kinds of shots. So if you struggle with it, a good toy with a nice articulated foot is a very big help. So I'd recommend it.
Sorry, I had myself muted. Adil Tahir has a super chat for $5. Adil says, actually 2 super chats for $5.
Well, thank you very much, Adil.
Hi, David Meredith, and thank you, David, for your review stream with Rob a few weeks ago. Been practicing like mad. I want to draw more lean-looking characters. Or, then he says, my message got cut off. How do you approach lean and skinny characters? I'm having a hard time finding characters that work as a reference.
First of all, you with your horses. My nose is running. I just tripped. So yeah, thank you for that. Would you hit what? Horse. All right. Are you sure? Is it on number 2? No. So, because that's. So I think you hit sad trombone.
I hit what I wanted to hit.
All right, you hit what you wanted to hit. Now I forgot. Oh right, reference for thinner characters. You know what? I think probably the best thing to do for that would be to look at Spider-Man drawn by some of the best Spider-Man artists. John Romita Jr., Mark Bagley is incredible. I'd really recommend looking at Mark Bagley's Ultimate Spider-Man. There are like 100 issues or more, and that is entirely that kind of a figure. Just doing a bunch of drawing from that, gesture drawing, just kind of study it and play with it. That's actually, I was looking at Mark Bagley for my Spider-Man because it's something I've really struggled with. I came from Top Cow where every character was like this big burly character, and that's all I really knew how to draw. And I know actually Marvel had their concerns that I would be able to pull it off too. But for me, yeah, my Spider-Man entirely came from Mark Bagley. Now you're not talking about Spider-Man; you're talking about a thinner character in general. But Spider-Man's physique, the way Mark Bagley does it, I think is a really good jumping off point. I think that will actually help quite a bit.
Next super chat comes from, I had to make sure I have my mic on, Wayne Blackman for $10.
Hey, Wayne Blackman's here.
Wayne says, good evening, dynamic duo. Thanks for the Monday night chat. Dave, have you ever studied the classical artists like Michelangelo, Raphael, or Leonardo? Pardon me. When you were learning to draw? Love you guys.
Um, okay, yes and no. Rembrandt quite a bit. Not so much Michelangelo and Leonardo. Truthfully, no. I when I was learning how to draw, I was very much focused on uh, Mark Silvestri and Jim Lee and the image artist. That's what I wanted to do. I never wanted to be an actual artist. That's an insult to Jim Lee and obviously they're actual artists. I never wanted to be a fine artist. It's not something I ever aspired to. As a matter of fact, I didn't know that I wanted to be an artist for a living for a long time because that kind of work, the kind of subject matter, it just didn't appeal to me. Um, so, and it does more now. I get more out of it now. I was young. So yeah, no, I really didn't. Rembrandt, I've looked at quite a bit over the years for his color choices, his backgrounds. Um, Whenever I'm kind of in a painting mood, I end up looking at Rembrandt a lot. He's my favorite for painting. I would look at Jonathan Singer Sargent more. I love his work, and I've got a few books. But he does largely kind of alla prima. It's the perfect right brushstroke. It's an oil painting technique. It's beyond me. So I have to work with what helps me, I guess. Meredith shut down again.
No, I just had you on.
She's rebooting.
Arcturus Hardy has a super chat for $10. How far in advance do creative teams start to work on books before the release date? Do they start 6 months out, 1 year out? Just curious.
Well, it really, my camera's actually all here. That'll help. Got a little shifted. It depends. Our teams can start a year out. Absolutely. It's very difficult for a publisher unless they're, a bigger publisher with deeper pockets to be able to pay for somebody to be doing something for a year without anything coming out. So that's a real factor. You know what? I'm not going to be able to use this brush this is Human Torch, so it's a little different. All right. So yeah, it's usually on a bit of a tighter schedule because I can't afford to just pay somebody for a year without taking anything back in. But even Marvel and DC, and I've seen this happen where an artist will get a bunch of extra lead time. They'll be guaranteed that lead time, and so they're in a great position. They get a couple issues in the can and everything's good. And then the publisher or somebody in, editorial or whatever says, whoa, hey, there's like 3 issues of this out, that are put together. Let's just put this out there. And they put it out. And so the artist thought they were going to get 6 months of lead time and they end up with 3, that happens. And then when I did Ultimate X-Men, I rolled right in from the book that I was doing. The very next month, I had an issue of Ultimate X-Men that was due. It had to come out. I went right into it and did that. And then I went from Ultimate X-Men to New Avengers, and they wanted to do New Avengers right away. So again, I had no break from Ultimate X-Men. I just went directly into my next deadline of New Avengers. So my lead time was essentially 3 weeks, and that's largely how it goes for monthly comics. Now, I've had times when I've had more time, and let me tell you right now what happens. If you give me more time, I will take it, and it just takes that long now. It's a real problem. So I tend to work better to a deadline. If you say this needs to get done this week, it will get done this week, or certainly as close to it as I possibly humanly can manage. If you say it needs to be done in 2 months, it'll take me 3, My desk just shifted.
Johnny Fitz is here. Johnny says, has a super chat for $5. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Finch. Not sure how long I'll stay. I had a breakdown yesterday and had a rough day, so I may lurk. Also, hi, chat. Well, Johnny, we all have rough days.
Yeah, we do. That's for sure.
Clearly, Meredith's having one today.
Yeah, she's right there with you right now.
Don't feel bad. Take the rough day.
Yep.
Can't all be up all the time.
No. And, there are times in your life where those times that are rough could last longer than a few days, and at that point I definitely recommend that you
talk to your doctor.
Talk to your doctor, and make sure you're getting the care that you need, because it's a long and very fruitful life, and it's a scary thing that a downtime like that for some people, can get worse, and don't let it go there.
Sheldon Martin has a super chat for $9.99. Sheldon says, "Hey Dave, my roommate went to the UFC a few years ago. He was cornering Tim Johnson. Someone bumped into him when they're in the tunnel to go out. It was Conor McGregor. Then
Wow.
Conor apologized. LOL."
That is pretty cool. Pretty cool all the way around. He's at the UFC not even just as a fan, which I would love to do one day. But yeah, cornering, it's pretty amazing. I know so little about it. I have to admit, I'm a huge fan, but I'm a casual fan in the sense that I don't know what I'm talking about. So I like striking more than I like wrestling. And I know it's like the hallmark of a casual fan. When they're on the floor, I'm like, well, I almost want to fast forward, but it is what it is.
All right. Next super chat comes from Greg L. Static Art for $2. Greg says, "Hey, DNM, the pick is looking good so far."
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. And thanks for the super chat. I should be probably looking at reference for the Human Torch. This could go badly. I feel like it kind of is.
Random Pat has another super chat. Random Pat says, "Thanks for the insight, Dave. I'm always intimidated by this field."
This field?
But I realize that failure is not an option.
Well, it is. Failure is an inevitability. It's just keeping going, and you learn from your failures. You don't learn from your successes. So don't worry about failing. As a matter of fact, I really think and this is what beats so many people is the fear of. So you do a picture that you're pretty happy with. Well, it can be, and I go through this, so it's not like I'm above it, but you do a picture you're happy with, and then the next picture is really hard to do because what if it doesn't work this time? But every time you fail, that's when you really reassess, and we're all learning machines, and the more you embrace that, I think the better off you will be. So I understand what you mean when you say failure. You mean stopping and not making it work for you. So yes, of course, but definitely embrace failure along the way.
All right, next super chat comes from Other Minds for $15.17. Howdy, Dave and Meredith. I never say that right. Also have to apologize to Tari because Tari told me last week his last name is Owe, and I said Owe, but I can't help it. It looks like it should rhyme. Tari, Owe. But so sorry, Tari. And Tari, your message got retracted, but I still didn't see another. Well, we're thinking about this. Question. So, Tari, make sure you tag me with your question. All right, back to Other Minds question. How did Dave and Meredith? Dave, in your development as an artist, have you ever struggled with patience? And how did you or do you overcome frustration? And Meredith, feel better. Whiskey helps.
Oh, nobody needs that. Thank you very much. I definitely struggle with impatience. And I've actually, and I've had the advantage of having done this for so many years, and I look back at times that I've had the most success in my career in terms of, a book doing really well. Like New Avengers was a huge thing. I don't think any of us really expected it to be such a big deal, and it really was at the time, which was very, very exciting. And it made a big difference in my career. I was miserable on that book, and it wasn't Brian Bendis, he was the writer, his fault. It wasn't Tom Brevoort's fault. He was the editor, and he's phenomenal. They both were incredible. They were very supportive. It was entirely just I was feeling a lot of pressure. I was getting criticism online. I know a lot of you guys know what that's like. You get a little bit of criticism, and it sticks with you. It's tough to to get over it. I was a little new to it. The internet was, that side of the internet was kind of new, and I didn't really know how to deal with it. It kind of beat me on that book. I was not a happy artist, and I quit, which I still regret to this day. I regret not being on that book longer. It was a great thing for my career. And so I try and tell myself, because I still feel the same way. I want to quit things all the time. I get a little bit impatient. You're talking about impatience. I get a little sick of drawing a character. That happens on every project I ever do. I've kind of learned to just suck it up, do the job, and that impatience a week later goes away, and I'm enjoying it again. And so yeah, I don't have a solution for it other than if you can at all benefit from my experience. This is going to take a little bit of work to fix. What a disaster. Don't let that kind of thing stop you, and just gut it out, man. Just, you're going to be miserable at times. You're going to want to quit. It's going to be too hard. And those could happen. Those kinds of feelings are actually almost more likely to happen at your most successful times, because then you have something to lose. I found that's what would happen to me. If I was doing something and nobody cared, I had nothing to lose. So I was just having fun. The minute something was successful, all of a sudden now, oh no, I have something to lose. What if people don't like this next issue? What if the sales go down? And yeah, real problem for me.
Next super chat comes from Andrew Law for $5.99. Andrew wants to know, what made you decide to take on this commission?
Well, it's got so many incredible artists on it. Not only does it have so many incredible artists, but this dates back to the beginning of my career. Like when J. Scott Campbell drew this would have been my guess, looking at this piece. And there's a Travis piece on here that definitely really dates it. I can tell exactly when Travis did that based on where he was with his work. This dates us to about 1996 or 7, I think 96. And I had been working for 2 years, really struggling with my work, struggling with my confidence. I just remember where I was at the time. And so yeah, it's kind of a special time for me, and the idea that I could be contributing to a piece with Jim Lee on it, and Eric Larson and J. Scott Campbell and all these incredible artists, that there were times I thought I wasn't going to make it. I would never get there. It's very special for me. So I really wanted to do this one. Is it 9? Okay, 9 o'clock. All right. I hope you guys aren't disappointed with this book of the week. Now, there's no way to be too disappointed with the artist, but I've been trying for my book of the week to make sure that it's something that most of you wouldn't really be aware of, and it's something a little different. But this one here, I was going through all my books, and you can see a little construction dust on it. This is Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. It's an incredible story, but as you know, we're not here for the story. We're here for the artwork. And the reason I wanted to show this one this week is I recommend Gary Frank all the time to artists that are working on everything, really. I mean, there's nothing that he doesn't do well. You look at his composition just with that shot. I mean, that's Batman almost entirely in shadow, and it is an incredible, incredible shot of Batman. The buildings, the way they're placed, everything is really, really nicely done. I love the way that he's got a shadow cast across his midground, I guess 4 midground, and then he's got a light area here, another dark area here, and it's just layering very well. So all that stuff he does incredibly well. That is actually not why I recommend it, though. So let's move away from Batman. Is incredible, and also his storytelling, top notch. His anatomy, everything he does, his rendering. I find that his rendering makes sense to me because we kind of come from a similar school of thought when it comes to that. He is much more controlled than I am with my artwork. That is an absolutely amazing shot. So let me get to the reason why I recommend this book so much, though. And it's actually this stuff. This is what he does this as well as everything else. He does everything so well. This is something that I do not do well at all. And that's expressions. It's faces that really have their own individual look. He's really great at drawing people that look consistent from panel to panel and look like actual people, as opposed to, and a lot of artists, I do this, have a tendency to draw the same face on every single character. And yeah, smiles like this are very, very difficult to pull off. Just all of this kind of storytelling is really, really great. The way that he defines all of his shapes around the eyes, I think, is something that's really worth looking at. He's also very, very good at his shadowing on everything. But, you know, because this is what we're talking about with this book, just with faces, some of the shadowing, not only is it really well done, but it's also similar to Mike Mignola in a way, I feel like, because he's really good at isolating the most important shapes and keeping it very simple and graphic in what is really a very detailed style. So it's beautiful, beautiful work. And he didn't start like this. He actually, I mean, he's always been incredibly good as an artist, but I feel like he really hit a height quite a while ago now. He's been incredible for a long time, but he's an artist that I really respect because I can see the growth in his work over the years, and he'll be a different artist, I'm sure, 10 years from now, because he's constantly growing and improving. And that's a difficult thing to do as you get older as an artist. It's, you fall into the same kinds of traps. So are you okay over there? Uncomfortable? Every time I look at her, she just glares at me. I'm getting like the dead-eyed stare. So yeah, I could go through this entire book and you can see all these faces are really, really well done. And I would just really recommend to improve your faces especially, but everything really. Take a look at some Gary Frank and give it a try. I think it's very, very good stuff. I'm the worst at this sometimes, but yeah, I'm an absolutely huge fan. I found this book kind of looking around. I've had this for ages and I've looked at it a bunch of times, but I've been looking at it just lately again and just really getting another kind of renewed appreciation. So yeah, faces like this. And this is Brad Anderson colors, by the way. And he does such a great job of isolating light sources like this and really making it pop. So it's just beautiful work. And again, a great story. So, you know, I'd really recommend this book. But yeah, just in terms of drawing, I think this is, because he's very realistic, but it's not realism. He's not drawing, you know, from life, tracing photos, that kind of thing. It's a really good, you know, this to me is the perfect balance of getting that realism, that expression, and not just making it look like photographs. So there you go. Book of the week: Gary Frank, Jeff Johns, this is Batman Earth 1. You did music with a fade. Very nice. All right.
Next super chat comes from Daniel Allen for $2. Daniel wants to know, what's the best Silvestri book to study from?
The best Mark Silvestri book to study from?
Or books?
Yeah, you know, that's a tough one to answer. My opinion, Wolverine. His Wolverine stuff, especially his earlier Wolverine stuff. I love his stuff kind of around issue 50, where he was really looking at a lot more of the image style work, and he was doing beautiful stuff with it. I love that stuff, but he doesn't really work that way anymore, and it's not really a way that you don't really see that kind of a style being done right now. So I think his earlier stuff, it's more storytelling oriented. The anatomy is incredible. To me, it's still my favorite work. What I can't say that it's better than like his Cyberforce work or in his most current work, I think is his best work. I'm just heavily biased towards Wolverine stuff because it's really, you know, what I first saw. So I'd recommend Wolverine.
All right. Johnny Fitz has another super chat for $5. Johnny says, yeah, I hear you. I'm going to go on hiatus after tonight. So if I'm not around, just know I'm taking time for my mental health.
Well, that's great to hear. And it's important.
And then he says, you guys rock.
You too, Johnny.
All right. Esquivo Art has a super chat for $5. Esquivo says, I'm obsessed with your Moon Knight Ultimatum run, but I can't get physical copies anywhere. Do you have pencils or still have pencil scans from those books?
I don't. You know what? I have pencil scans from at least half of Ultimatum, maybe even all of I have nothing from Moon Knight. And I had it at one point. I don't know what happened. I got a new computer and I just missed that folder, unfortunately. I have major holes in especially that era of my work, all the pencils, which is a shame, 'cause it's kind of once in a while I like to look back on what I was doing, but Moon Knight I don't. But yeah, the Ultimatum stuff I've got. And thank you.
All right.
And I would say, hey, I could just post up all the Ultimatum pencils. I guess I could. I wouldn't be selling it,
Next super chat comes from Mandrake for 49 pesos. You paint in digital. What are the pros and what are not what are the pros and cons of digital painting?
Thank you very much, Mandrake, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. The pros of painting in digital, there are a couple. It's certainly faster. You don't have to wait for paint to dry. You don't have to mix paint. You also can heavily cheat. Just pick your favorite painting, something in a really similar vein, with a similar color scheme as what you're doing. And you can pick directly from another artist's picture onto your picture. You're not really copying it because you're just taking that color. Totally works. You can do that. That's a real advantage. You also have adjustability that you don't have working on paper or canvas or whatever. And you're not really committing yourself to anything. You can work on different layers. I mean, everybody knows this, it makes it very friendly for experimentation because you can just try something. If you don't like it, you just take it out of there. So absolutely. Now, the cons are there. To me, there's something that I really like personally about working with actual media and actual paint and that texture that you can get naturally, and you're not having to kind of artificially introduce it. But really, another big one is you have an actual piece in your hand. You have what you did, your work, and it's the original, and you can, that means a lot to me. Probably a little old school that way. I prefer working traditionally. I was talking about doing some digital stuff for the channel because I thought, you know what, everybody's working digitally nowadays. It's much more common, and so maybe I should be doing that and doing tutorials on that stuff. But the truth is, it's not really what I do, and there's nothing that I'm doing that doesn't directly translate over. So I don't know that I'm really going to do it. I don't enjoy working digitally, but I mean, that's now. We'll see a year from now. And also having original art that you can sell, that's a big one. If and you want the goal of your career to be recognized enough that your art starts to have some value, and if it's all done digitally, you can really miss out on quite a bit. So I mean, it's something to really think about.
All right. Erica Scott has a super chat for $2. Erica says, hey, DNM, how do you draw a Hulk Banish character?
Hulk Beanish character.
Big.
All right.
Muscle.
Okay. Pencil. I had it. Oh, here it is. Okay. So I've got a character. I'm going to draw him. He's kind of crouched over. I'm just kind of throwing something in there. Should probably be constructing his hips properly, but whatever. We're working fast. So there's my basic proportions for my character. And so I'm just going to lighten that down. My eraser here. And my head's going to stay the same. I don't want my arms to be longer. I just want them to be bigger. So I'm going to go much bigger with the shoulder. This is going to be shorter as a result. bigger wrist. My hands are going to be massive. So my arm actually ends up being longer just because my hand is so big. My other shoulder is going to be way out here. And I'm just really just taking the same shapes and making them much, much bigger. Big hands. Now, I don't actually do this. I would just draw this character, bigger. I might want to go a little bit bigger with this chest too. See, that's one thing, because I don't, like I said, actually do this. I would actually just draw my character. I'm drawing the same shapes. I'm just drawing them much broader. So here's my chest. Here's my arm. I'm going to make it really thick and short. And here's my other arm. And I want to make sure that my chest is wide enough to accommodate, to be proportional. And I'm going to be pretty short with my torso because, again, I don't want him to be tall. I want him to be broad. My legs will be quite a bit thicker. And so, yeah, this is actually probably not the best example because I don't actually approach it this way. So let me fix it. Talking in circles. Okay, so I want my shoulder to be out here more. And so I'm just going to change the angle on that arm a little bit, and that should work. Much wider leg, but again, same length. And so that'll give me a character that's much more, in that proportion. Very easy, really. It's just making everything much thicker and bigger, but without going, longer. So there you go. That's a quick one, and I'm sorry, Erica, but that's really kind of my whole thought process when it comes to that kind of thing.
Next super chat comes from Brad Scott Art for $20. Brad says, I was a personal trainer for years, and for artists wanting to learn anatomy and how the body moves, I recommend Strength Training Anatomy by Frederick Delavier. He has a men's and a women's book, less than $20 each. And Miss Meredith rocks. Not tonight.
No, Meredith, I knew you were going to be a little quiet tonight when at like 4:30, she was asleep on the couch. So what was the book again, Meredith? Sorry.
Strength Train. Are you writing it down?
I should actually. Let me do that. Strength
Training Anatomy by Frederick. Frederick Delavier. Delavier.
Delavier. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a look at it. I always recommend when it comes to just anatomy, just do a Google search. You can find really good anatomical plates, and understand that you're not going to learn how to draw superheroes or even really human figures solely from that. That's why life drawing is so important, because you get the basic placements, but you need to know how they actually look and work in real life and in comic books. Depending on really what you want to do, they kind of work hand in hand. But you can't get everything from anatomical books. And it's an easy way to drive yourself crazy if you start to approach it that way. I've done it.
All right. Jason Merchada has a super chat for $4.99. Jason says, dude, did you see the Edson Barbosa knockout in the last UFC? Love everything you've been doing to help out aspiring artists.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I sure did. That was actually one fight where I was pretty thrilled. I'm a big fan. And that was a great, not only was it a great knockout, but it was a great fight from both fighters all the way around. I don't know if that got fight of the night. I think it was, because I think they gave out a couple, but yeah, it was incredible. It was a great fight. And he definitely, what was he ranked? I think he was the underdog going into that fight too. So he definitely increased his standing after that one. I think both fighters did. And those are always the best fights.
All right. Comics Exposed has a super chat for $5.
She's yawning.
Dave, when are you going to launch your creator-owned crowdfunded project so that I can throw money at you?
Well,
Can't wait to see what you come up with.
thank you so much. I really appreciate the sentiment. Absolutely. I have a creator-owned comic that I'm working on right now. It's not going to be crowdfunded. But at some point, I would certainly love to do it. I didn't really start doing YouTube actually again because I know YouTube is a really great tool for being able to do crowdfunding. I wasn't thinking about it like that at all, truthfully. But it definitely makes me think. You know what? Maybe it's a possibility. It's a way to be able to do my own work and the kind of thing that I really believe in, and with the support of all you guys, the idea that this possibility is nice to think about, but that would definitely be down the road. Wake up.
Next super chat is for Tagamo Model Works
Hey,
for
Tagamo.
$10. Tag says, "Hey Finches, just wanted to say hi and let you know I'm here. Sounds like some sleep could be used in your house. Love you guys. Thanks for being here."
Yeah. What did he say? Thanks for being here.
Yes.
Well, thank you for being here, as always. Yeah. Meredith's gonna crash hard after this one. I charge my phone. It's charging actually right now, so I'll have. You know what? I'll have to take a picture of this. I can't scan it easily, so I'll take a picture and put it in the community tab. I have not been up on that lately. The last week for sure, I was so wiped out. I just went directly to bed. So I will make sure to get this up on the community tab. It's nice to be able to do that. And it is 9:22.
I'm not sure if Jason is here.
Jason.
Fabok.
Oh, yeah?
Is Jason Fabok's tag the Fabocalypse with Jason Fabok? If that's the case, Jason, you picked the worst night to listen to. Go back to bed. You have a baby. Or let Sarah go to bed.
Yeah.
Jason says, Bruce Queen Dave is better at teaching than I ever could do. Learn from the master.
Bruce Queen. I'm not familiar with the name. Am I here? That's somebody that's an artist?
I don't know.
Huh.
Bruce Queen. That's a person. That's Jason saying something to Bruce Queen. That's Jason saying Dave is better at teaching than I could ever do. Learn from the master. There we go.
Well,
I had to scroll back to figure out what was going on. That's
thank you so much, Jay. Jay had a long weekend of signing. Also,
not figure out why all of a sudden there's all this Fabocalypse with Jason Fabok. That's because it's actually Jason.
Crazy. Fabocalypse.
Fabocalypse. The Fabocalypse.
Well, thanks for stopping by, Jay. And
hopefully you took the day off.
Hopefully, yeah, I know I did.
Your hand is recovered.
I did absolutely nothing today. Basically, Meredith was outside working her butt off today, and I was down here falling asleep on the couch. And I am not sorry, man. I worked so hard this weekend. I mean, I'm sorry that you're tired. How about that? But maybe if you guys can, listen to me wanting to pressure Jay now that he's in the chat. But I really want to have Jay on and talk about his process a little bit. I think it'd be very, very interesting.
I'm sorry. Didn't we just do did we have an interview?
We did an interview, but I'd like to kind of go.
Speaking of which, before we do that, where are the rest of them?
Again, you know what? You've seen what I've been going through for the last 2 weeks, right? Where you give me too hard a time. It's been busy. So they're coming.
All right. Jason has a new Batman Prime statue out. It's amazing.
Oh, nice. Actually, I have a Superman statue that I just saw it advertised. It's it's from the costume that I did on death metal. It was on the cover, and they even used the same exact pose, same costume. No credit. Nice.
Charles Petrie wants to know where Patches is. Patches is where Meredith should be. In bed.
In bed sleeping, yeah.
She's like, I'm too tired to come
I
down.
noticed Patches does not come down here as much.
No.
I think as we've gotten more comfortable in this house, she's more comfortable, and so we don't see her as much. She's not like, what are you doing? You're abandoning me up there. We were getting that a lot early on.
Super chat from Jim Klein for $10. Jim wants to know, would you be willing to discuss using chiaroscuro to create depth within a scene and on characters? It seems like it'd be a natural progression given your recent videos on composition and negative space.
Yeah, actually, that would be.
What is chiaroscuro for people like me who don't know?
It's use of blacks, use of shadow. And I want to say it's Italian. I don't actually know. I think it's Italian though. And yeah, I mean it's a subject that is always very fascinating for me, and it's a subject with none of this really has rules. I mean it's artwork, so it doesn't really have rules. But I do find that some things have more rules than others. How about that? This paper, it's really hard for me to be completely neat on. Like anatomy, while your interpretation of it is your interpretation, the placement of anatomy in general terms, that's pretty much there's a right way and a wrong way. There really is, the bicep goes on the front of the arm. If you're putting it somewhere else, I feel fairly comfortable saying that's not the right way to do it. But things like shadow placement, so much of it is just artistic choice. And there are so many different moods and things you can get from different ways of approaching it. It makes it really endlessly fascinating and also very difficult to explain just because there is no truly right way. There are some things that I just have no choice but to say, this is my thinking on it and the way that I approach it. And also, my shortcuts, because I have a few. Compositionally, I've got some shortcuts that I always use. They always really work for me, I feel like anyway, but they're not right. They're just what I've learned from Mark Silvestri and what I've learned from looking at artists that I really like. And yeah, I would like to do something with that.
All right. Next super chat comes from Paul Essenson for $7.99. Paul wants to know, hello there. Was the customer happy with that Batman you did on the stream with the uplighting where you didn't render it through?
Have we even turned that in yet?
No, because we haven't sent any of those. I don't even know where they are, Dave.
They're in that drawer right over there.
You took all the stuff that I had in books and moved it around, and
I've told you where they are before.
You haven't.
Okay.
Just bring them up. I'm not rooting through your office. You get mad when I clean it.
You're right. Okay, I'll bring them up. But no, I don't know. I don't even know if the buyer of that one has actually seen it.
Only if he watches the stream.
Yeah, and I don't actually know. So yeah, it's a good question. And good to see you here, Paul.
All right, Random Pat has a super chat. Another super chat for $5. Random Pat says, Dave, can you show how the trapezius attaches to the neck and shoulders?
All right, figure this thing out here. Let's see. I'm running out of paper. So here's my neck from the side. And here's my shoulder right here, my chest, my clavicle right here, this muscle, the big muscle that you have here. I'm always turned around when I look at the camera. This one, I don't know the names, goes and connects to your ear, basically underneath your ear. Then you've got your Adam's apple here, or this area here for someone that doesn't have an Adam's apple. And there are some.
You mean like for a woman?
For I don't know, for a woman, right? Yeah. And then along the back, I'm going to draw this in the back too. You've got the back of your traps attaching to the back of your skull at the base, and then they come out across the shoulders like this. So let me clean that up a little bit. And a few tendons in there. And so from the back, here's my head, ear. It connects in at the base, just up here. And it has basically this kind of a shape as it comes down. There's a bit of a triangle here. And your shoulders connect into it just like this. They basically slot right into that spot. And there's more down here. And actually, I'm going to do a video this week. I have not done it. It's been such a crazy week. I'm actually going to be doing that tomorrow in the morning, getting that to Yuri and getting it done and out on the channel as quickly as I possibly can. But yeah, I'm behind. This is the truth. But yeah, there it is from behind. And that's how it connects from behind. So that's basically the trapezius from the side and the back. There you go. All right. You're still awake? That was pretty quick. I know she can hear me. I have a.
Do you have an ETA?
Yeah, you know what? I'm kind of done, actually. I would have to go into another character, and I know you'll lose your mind, and I know you're incredibly tired, so I'm thinking we might wrap this one up early. This is going to be a bit of a shorter. So we've got our two characters kind of in. Got my Human Torch. I've never been a big fan of the way that Human Torch is rendered, you know, with the kind of the vertical sort of lines on him. I never really could make that look right for me, but I did my best with it. There it is. And then we have the Vision just right here. And so, yeah, I've got another couple characters, and I think for the next one, let me move my microphone out of the way here. Start swinging this around. So I've got a Punisher here. That's definitely Punisher. And I'd like to do that one. I think that one's coming. I've got a Thor up here just underneath my Todd McFarlane stuff. That would be a nice one to do. This is Namor for sure. And I want to start adding some of the characters that he was really asking for. Some of the Batman characters and X-Men characters, just to make sure that we get them in there before it's too late and they end up being like a little postage stamp. But yeah, this has got a long way to go. So I think we'll have a few more episodes of this one for sure. And, you know, maybe next time with Meredith not completely fading, we'll do 3 characters. Because they tend to be, they're a little small. They're actually going faster than I would have thought. They're going pretty quick. The other option, I still have to finish Omni-Man from last week. You're ready to wrap it up, aren't you? What do you want to do? Want to finish Omni? What?
Did you just tell me we were done and then just take it back?
All right. We're going to wrap it up here so Meredith can go to bed. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming and spending Monday with us. I'm sure Meredith will be a different person next week. And she'll be driving me crazy anyway, that's for sure. So this has been a nice reprieve. All right. Have a good night, everyone, and we will see you next week. I will
Good
have
night, everybody.
a new tutorial video out just as soon as possible. I'll be recording it tomorrow, and hopefully I can get it out before the end of this week, but very, very soon. So, all right. Good night. Have a great week, everyone.